Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. Biden and Schumer, I'm sure Pelosi, you're all theories over. There's more news coming out of the Democrat Party. We already had Christine Sinema announced herself as an independent. And now Joe Manchin is probably thinking about doing the same thing that would absolutely just wreck the Democrat Party majority that they currently have right now. Something they ill afford to happen to them, which I would love to see happen to. I would love to see the infighting grow. It would end the Democrat Party, and for them to tear each other apart. It would be amazing. And I don't know if Mitch McConnell could even take advantage of this, but we'll see what takes place. Mitch McConnell is also an issue that we have in the Republican side that we need to take care of as we have elections continuing to roll through to ensure that we maybe put somebody up that could take him down, or actually put up a candidate within the Senate to be the leader of the Republican Party rather than Cocaine Mitch or Turtle Mitch or whatever you want to call them. This dude needs to go, however. This is still good news. This is good news that we can have Joe Manchin flipped from being a Democrat into an independent. So let's go and take a look what we have here. It says Democrat Senator Joe Manchin doesn't rule out becoming an independent. That's right. Joe Manchin. Democrats could soon lose another senator after their Arizona Senator Sinema changed a registration from Democrat to independent. People are asking West Virginia Senator Manchin if you'll do the same. Just asked CNN. Manu Raju reported saying just ask Joe Manchin if he'll become an independent like Sinema said or did. He says I'll look at all these things. I've always looked at all these things. But I have no intention of doing anything right now. Whether I do something later, I can't tell you what the future is going to bring. Manchin also said, I'm not a Washington Democrat. I don't know what else to tell you. And if a Washington independent is, we'll see what happens there. We'll have to look. People are registering more for independent than any other party affiliation. They are sick and tired of it. And the article concludes this should be an easy layup for GOP leader McConnell. We'll see how this takes place. But this is political speak right here. Says I can't tell you what I'm going to do in the future. That's a towel, my friends. That is a towel that has a tail that he could possibly switch sides to become an independent and rob, once again, Chuck Schumer of this short-term victory that he has had him in his party by losing 2 senators from his party, and possibly even jeopardizing their majority in the Senate is fantastic. I'd love for them to continue to wreak havoc. Seeing this take place brings me great joy to see their party in disarray. I would like to see more gridlock take place in DC. That is something that we can hopefully all benefit from the gridlock that's taking place right now. So they cannot pass any more absolutely outrageous bills that they've been trying to do and they have successfully done here recently. We need to stop them in their tracks. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you think Joe Manchin will pull the trigger and become an independent, or do you think he'll continue to remain a Democrat? And then some significant news. Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake has officially filed a massive lawsuit against Maricopa County election officials, a lawsuit alleging that the widespread problems and disruptions experienced on Election Day were indeed enough to change the outcome of her gubernatorial race against Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs. Now, while the lawsuit is generally derided and dismissed by the legacy media, outlets like The Federalist are pointing to the suit very specific contestation that's well within the parameters of Arizona law. The legal scholar Robert Barnes has noted that, according to Arizona law, established for well over a century by the Arizona Supreme Court, there's no need to prove that fraud or maladministration of an election took place. All one has to actually do is show that there were irregularities, mishaps, mistakes, omissions, or other issues that bring the election outcome into doubt. And that's so key here. Kari Lake does not have to legally prove that there was any fraud or any intentional mismanagement or any other. All she has to do is show that there were indeed irregularities, mistakes, mishaps, and other issues that inordinately affected the outcome of the election. And this is precisely what the lawsuit does. So I see little reason for anyone, especially those in the legacy media, who claim that they alone are the gatekeepers and the standard bearers of reliable information. I see no reason to simply dismiss this case with such arrogant derision. It centers on the following: first and foremost, signature mismatches. The suit alleges that Maricopa County election officials permitted the counting of tens of thousands of mailing and drop box ballots that did not satisfy signature verification requirements, including allowing tens of thousands of ballots with signature mismatches. Now, this according to eyewitness testimony. What has to be done, as I understand it, is that the signature that's on the envelope of the mail-in ballot when it's received at the election place, it has to match the signature that's on file with the voter registration. The signature on file is apparently a very hard one to get access to. So it's considered an objectively reliable verifying source for the signature on the envelope. So according to eyewitness testimony as detailed in this filing, a number of identified mismatches identified by poll workers were actually overturned by someone higher up the supervisory chain, as it were. And so this accounts for tens of thousands of ballots being suspect, which of course can be easily verified, right? This is wholly objective here, unless of course, the envelopes have been thrown away. But regardless, the mail-in vote itself has a signature on it, can be objectively verified or falsified based on the signature on the file with the voter registration. Now, given that they're alleging this involved tens of thousands of ballots, and given the fact that Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs are only separated, I believe it's under 20,000. This charge alone is enough to question the integrity of the election process. But then, of course, there's a second allegation, and that's the issue of ballot custody. According to filing attorneys allege that Maricopa County officials violated Arizona chain of custody laws for hundreds of thousands of mail-in ballots. With no chain of custody, there is no way to tell whether over 300 ballots cast in Maricopa County are legal ballots. And again, this is key, this is absolutely key. Robert Barnes made the analogy of evidence tampering in the legal sphere, right? So the way you guard against evidence tampering is by accounting for every place the evidence has been throughout the entire judicial process. So there's an accounting and verification process when the evidence is received. And then there's an accounting verification process of where the evidence is taken. And then there's an accounting of where the evidence is stored. And there's an accounting of who's examined the evidence and yada, etc. At any point, if that evidence falls out, as it were, from that chain of custody, it is now admissible because it could have been tampered with. Again, it's not a matter of proving that it was tampered with. It's a matter of the fact that it could have been tampered with, and that alone renders the evidence inadmissible. And it's the same with mail-in ballots. You have to have an objective accounting and verification process every step of the way, from the moment the ballot was received by the voter to how and when it was sent, how and when it was received, how and when it was stored, how and when it was counted, and where it is. Now, if at any point that chain of custody is broken, that is, by definition, an illegal ballot, not because there's any evidence that tampering did take place but precisely because tampering could take place. And the third allegation, all of this is, of course, the tabulator and printer failures that plagued Maricopa County on election day, as well as the mixing of ballots, where ballots that were counted were mixed in with ballots that weren't counted. That's the gist of the lawsuit. So what's the remedy to all of this? Given that the judge is going to take the allegations raised by the lawsuit seriously, what is the desired outcome? Well, I'm going to show you exactly what the courts have done in just the last couple of years to rectify local election irregularities. Nearly 20 months after a town councilman was certified the winner of an election in the Florida town of Eatonville, just outside of Orlando, a judge actually ordered that he be removed from his position due to evidence of voter fraud. The judge in this case issued a ruling stating, in part, that a fella by the name of Taurus Mack, who was sworn into office on the Hill Town Council several months prior, had to vacate his seat so that it could be filled by his challenger, Marlon Daniels. What happened was that Daniels was ahead on election night, only to find out the next morning that he lost after a number of ballots suddenly surfaced for his opponent. He took it to court, and the court found that there were serious discrepancies between ballots and actual voters. And as a result, the judge overturned the election, declaring the so-called winner to now be the loser and the original loser to now be the winner. So there is ample precedent for the courts to step in and rectify a contested election. So that's one option for what can happen here. The other option is simply a runoff, particularly Maricopa County where all the problems took place. Again, there's ample historical precedent for that as well. Kari, of course, would be fine with either one, as the lawsuit makes clear. So we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on how things develop here, but right now there's absolutely no question. Kari is a fighter. She's showing patriots all across the nation how to stand up to the establishment, and for that, in our eyes, she will always be a winner. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below and hit subscribe.